Are you planning to move to Australia, or maybe you're already living there on a visa? Well, you need to listen carefully, because starting from the 1st of October, 2025, some very big changes are coming to Australia's immigration system. And these aren't just small updates or paperwork adjustments, these are game-changing rules that could completely reshape the way people study, work, or even settle permanently in Australia. If you have ever dreamed about calling Australia your new home, this video could make the difference between success and disappointment. Australia has always been one of the most popular destinations for students, skilled professionals, and families searching for a better future. Its strong economy, high quality of life, and multicultural society make it attractive to millions of applicants every year. But because the demand is so high, the government is constantly reviewing and tightening the system to ensure fairness, economic benefit, and proper population balance. And now, with new updates being enforced, there are 11 major rules that every future migrant needs to know. These changes are not random. They reflect Australia's shifting priorities, boosting critical industries, managing housing and infrastructure, and ensuring that migrants integrate successfully. The first big shift is the increase in English language requirements. For many visa categories, including skilled migration and student visas, applicants will now need to achieve higher test scores in exams like IELTS or PTE. This might seem tough, but the reasoning is clear. The government wants to make sure that new arrivals can communicate effectively in workplaces, schools, and communities. Imagine you're a student planning to study in Sydney or Melbourne. If you barely scraped through the English requirement in the past, that may not be enough anymore. This means preparation and practice are more important than ever before. Another major change is the adjustment of age limits for skilled migration. Until now, many visas were available for applicants up to their mid-40s. But starting October, the cutoff will be lowered for certain categories. Why? Because the government wants younger, long-term contributors to the workforce who can fill shortages for decades to come. For example, if you're 42 and planning to apply as a skilled engineer, your window of opportunity may be closing fast. On the other hand, if you're in your 20s or early 30s, your chances are improving compared to before. Student visa applicants also need to prepare for stricter financial rules. Australia wants to ensure that students arriving from overseas can genuinely support themselves without falling into hardship. This means you'll need to provide stronger evidence of savings, bank statements, or sponsorship. It might sound discouraging, but from the government's perspective, it prevents situations where students struggle to pay rent or overwork illegally. If you're planning to apply, start gathering solid financial documents early and be ready to prove you can handle life in Australia. On the positive side, certain industries are now being prioritized more than ever. Healthcare, engineering, and IT are at the top of the list. If your profession falls into these areas, your application could be processed faster and given higher priority. Imagine you're a nurse or software developer. These updates could work in your favor and put you ahead of thousands of other applicants. This is great news for people in high-demand fields who want to make the move quickly. Of course, not all the news is pleasant. Visa application fees are set to rise slightly across several categories. This means you need to budget more carefully. For instance, if you were saving a set amount for your skilled visa, you might now need to adjust your financial plan. While the increases aren't extreme, they do add extra pressure, especially for families applying together. There's also some positive news for those who are willing to settle in regional areas of Australia. The government is reducing waiting times for permanent residency if you hold certain regional visas. This is part of their effort to encourage people to move away from crowded cities like Sydney and Melbourne and instead build lives in smaller towns and regional centres. For example, if you accept a job in a rural hospital or teach in a regional school, you could become eligible for permanent residency sooner than before. At the same time, international students need to be aware that the temporary relaxation of work-hour limits is coming to an end. Australia had allowed students to work more hours during certain periods, but starting October, stricter caps will return. This means you cannot rely solely on part-time work to fund your studies and living expenses. If you're a student dreaming about Australia, it's important to plan realistically. Family sponsorship is another area facing tighter rules. Sponsors will now have to meet stronger financial and background requirements before being allowed to bring relatives to Australia. This is meant to ensure that sponsored family members won't end up depending heavily on government support. For families, this could mean longer waiting times and more paperwork, but it also adds more credibility and security to the process. Health checks are also changing, especially for long-term visa applicants. The medical requirements are being updated to match current health risks and to ensure applicants don't place unexpected strain on the healthcare system. If you're applying for a visa that requires a health exam, be prepared for more detailed checks and possibly new tests. Australia is also doubling down on incentives for regional migration. Not only will permanent residency pathways be faster, but there may also be extra support, grants, or housing options for those who choose less populated areas. For example, someone choosing to live in Adelaide or Darwin may find the process much smoother than someone competing for a spot in Sydney. And finally, the government is tightening its monitoring of visa misuse. In other words, there will be stronger systems in place to catch fraudulent applications, overstaying, or abuse of student visas. This means that honesty and transparency in your application are more important than ever. If you've been thinking about cutting corners or relying on dodgy migration advice, think again. The risk is higher, and the consequences could include bans or deportation. So, as you can see, these 11 changes are not small details. They directly affect students, workers, and families who want to build a future in Australia. Some rules create amazing new opportunities, while others raise the bar and make the process stricter. But the bottom line is this: if you're planning to move, you cannot afford to ignore these updates. Preparation, research, and timing will be your best tools. Before we continue into more strategies and examples, I want to pause and ask for your support. If this video has helped you understand these game-changing updates, please hit the like button right now. Your support motivates me to keep creating these detailed breakdowns, and it also helps this video reach more people who need this information before it's too late. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon, so you're always the first to know when new immigration updates are announced. Together, let's stay informed, stay prepared, and make your Australian dream a reality.